Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to NOLA Theater Talk. My name is Alan Smason, and glad to have you with me again. We always broadcast on Monday nights, the night that traditionally theaters are dark, so that people can get together and see our show, especially if they're working actors. This is broadcast to the NOLA Theater Folk Facebook group, the theatercriticism.com Facebook page, as well as my own YouTube channel. And you can look that up by my name or by the actual earlier name for the channel. Those of you who are watching tonight, we want to remind you, we have two segments tonight. The first is going to be on theater, and the second will be on the classical arts. So we hope that you'll stick around for both segments. But for those of you who are looking to see anybody from the Louisiana Philharmonic Orchestra, that's going to be the second half of our show. Starts at 8:30. So you can come right on back, or you can stick around because we have the first segment to go through, and that's going to be all about the Crescent City Stage and their upcoming production of A Christmas Carol, appropriate for the season. And again, those of you who are out there on Facebook or wherever and want to be able to make a comment, I remind everybody that you should go to https /StreamYard.com/Facebook. The reason why that allows Facebook to interface with you and allows Facebook to essentially give permission to StreamYard, which is the application we use this platform, and that then allows them to put your name. If not, it's going to say Facebook user. So it's never going to say the name, and we'll find out who it is later, because then we can get to see from Facebook who it was. But it's so much nicer if we know who it is that's making comments, especially if you know any of the characters that we're talking with later on in the broadcast. So let me just say, first off, that we have asked two of the actors who are involved with the upcoming production. You can see the Crescent City Stage logo is already emblazing on the screen there. We have the director, Liz Elkins Newcomer, who's going to be coming into the room shortly. We also have her co-artistic director, founding artistic director, Michael Newcomer, who's an actor in the presentation. Matter of fact, he'll be playing the lead role of Ebenezer Scrooge. And Ryan Riley, who's playing a number of roles, most notably Mr. Fezziwig and Frederick, and a host of others. So while we're waiting for Liz to come into the room, because she was in the same room with Michael, they happen to cohabit together as man and wife, so it's okay for them to use the same computer. But I really would love to have them isolated. I really wanted to bring Liz in first, but Michael, since she's not here, well, let me bring you in first as the co-artistic director. Am I correct in that? Founding?
I'm the executive director.
Executive director.
Yes.
Okay. And now your wife comes into the room. I was going to bring her in first.
You can kick me out.
No, I'm going to bring her both in now. Now we have the newlyweds, as it were. And I'm not officiating at this ceremony. I want you to know. So again, Michael, Elizabeth, welcome. Liz, you are actually going to be doing the directing, the heavy lifting on this piece. So you've already done this before, if I'm not mistaken. You directed Michael in a piece not too long ago, right?
I've never directed Michael before, but I did direct Anya and Sonia and Masha and Spike.
And he wasn't in that.
Correct.
Oh, he did the sound or something, right?
He did the design.
We've never been able to work together because of kids.
So how is it this particular instance you're able to work together?
We got help from my parents and from some really great babysitters, and our boys, although they're up right now and keeping us from being on time for this, they've been real troopers and just
that's fantastic.
Yes.
Well, I'm delighted to hear that. That's great. Are useful for some things from time to time. You know, we are what we are. We're always available. Unfortunately, my child, now grown up, lives in Texas, the next state, so I'm not as available as your mom is. But I know that she present and available, so that's good. So for both of you, I'm having in your honor one of my classic Sazeracs. I don't know if you notice, it's a little bit frosty on the glass there, and so I'm having that because Christmas is all about spirits, is it not? Mm-hmm. And Christmas Carol is particularly about spirits.
Yes.
So you see how I did that? You see where I went with that? All right, Michael. Tell me exactly why, as the executive director, you decided to do what essentially, yes, what are you drinking? What are you drinking?
I am drinking my go-to old fashioned.
Okay, and Liz, did he make one for you too?
He did.
Okay.
Cheers, Alan.
No, but I wanted to know why you went with the classic, Christmas Carol. What you think Crescent City Stage will be able to do with it that others have been able to do with it before, that you all will be able to do differently. So I want to hear your take on that, and then I'm going to hear from the director, your wife.
Sure. Yeah. So as you know, Christmas Carol is a rite of passage for many actors, and it is a pretty standard piece that theaters do. It's a crowd pleaser. It's a one time of year you can do it. And as I was thinking about doing a holiday show, I came across this particular version, Barlow's version, which is a 5-hander. And much like his 39 Steps, which is just a crazy, that's only 4 actors, story, when when I read this adaptation of it, I was struck, having done Christmas Carol several times and several different adaptations of it. What I was struck by in Barlow's work was not only that it was 4 actors playing multiple roles around the 1 actor central character playing Scrooge, but that Barlow really gets back to what I think is the beauty of A Christmas Carol, the story, the novel, which is the idea of humanity being able to self-correct, and what we're capable of doing if we give ourselves permission to do that. And we get to see that through Scrooge. So this particular adaptation is fun. It's silly. We see Scrooge in a different way than I think you traditionally see him. You get to see all of the same folks, Fezziwig and Freddie and Fan and Belle, all of the people that are in the novel. But what I think Barlow has done, it has really gotten back to what Dickens' intention was when he wrote the novel, which was a really cool ghost story centered around the holidays. And this idea of, at the time, Victorian England, sort of poor, rich redemption, and the sort of chasm that was happening at that time of the extreme poverty and extreme wealth, and what happens in the middle. And so I loved this version. I was excited in my mind. I thought, how could we cast this locally? And we got incredibly lucky with the folks who were able to join us. And, as a business, Crescent City Stage, this is the finale of our first year. And we wanted to go out with something special and fun and exciting. And New Orleans doesn't really have a Christmas Carol tradition yet. I know Le Petit. I was in Le Petit's version.
Yes.
And then COVID hit, which shuttered everybody's plans. Right. And I'm excited as an organization to be able to bring a new retelling of this story and hope that it becomes a tradition down the road. Before
I bring in Liz, I would say that at the time that Le Petit was doing A Christmas Carol, they did it at least twice that I know of, and it may have even been 3 times. But Maxwell Williams, who was the artistic director at that time, fully intended to have it every year, continual. Yeah. And had it not been for COVID, had he not left his position, that might still have been in the works. And just like everybody does Nutcracker, I mean, every ballet company in New Orleans does Nutcracker, and they even bring in outside people who do Nutcracker. So that's why I was wondering, this particular piece by Barlow. Elizabeth, had you ever done Barlow's work before? Had you done 39 Steps or anything like that?
No, I wanted to do it back when I was teaching at Newman, but I actually was really intimidated by it because there is so much. It's not literal, and there's a lot of opportunity for play and inventiveness, and I just was a little overwhelmed by even approaching it. And so, getting the opportunity to do A Christmas Carol, it actually has been challenging, but really fun. And you'll see the cast is so incredible that some of the best ideas that we've come up with have been a collaboration. Or Ryan, who you'll bring on, yeah, I'll let him. There's some key moments that he had great ideas, so they were all contributing and collaborating, and it's been really fun.
And you said a five-hander, and that's a theater term that some people should already know. A two-hander meaning two people, although they do have two hands, so it really should be a four-hander for two people, shouldn't it? But that's another story. Anyway, let me bring in actor number 5, Ryan. There you are.
Hey.
What are you having tonight?
Having some red wine.
All right, very good.
Cheers.
A little bit on the vino there for us. Ryan, you're number 5. So how many total actors do you think you play, or do you know?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Wow.
10, like with lines and then various furniture, spirits, carolers.
You do everything. You move furniture as well, don't you?
We become furniture.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, did you audition for the role?
I did. Yes.
Okay. So and you actually had how many people, Liz, try out for these roles? Because there are only 5, and Ebenezer was already, I guess, spoken for, huh?
It must have been 20.
Wow. Yeah. Now
We already knew Ryan's work though, so
right. Okay. But now, did you have a situation where you had to have like a woman? Or do you have any women? I'm assuming in the cast.
2 women in the cast. Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got Ryan and Michael, 2 women, and another gentleman is another actor.
Yeah, but you'll recall LeBaron, perhaps Alan. LeBaron was with us for Try It Out in January. LeBaron is playing actor 2. Eleanor Humphrey is playing actor 4, and Aaron Cessna is playing actor 3.
Wow. Okay. So and again, at any one point in time, you have how many people on the stage at most? Do you have all 5 at one point, or 3 or 4?
Always all 5.
Wow.
There's only a couple of key moments when the 4 actors leave Scrooge alone, but they're on the stage for 2 hours pretty much the whole time.
And Ryan, is this the first time you've done something like this in your acting career?
Yes, to this extent. I played. I was in a play called The Short Fall in New York for a second, and I know it was a thing where I changed on stage, and I played about 6 different characters at that time.
But this tops that one.
This definitely tops that. This is one of the funnest and most difficult things I've ever done as an actor. And I've been doing this about 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how was it, Elizabeth, to direct this, since you were sort of put off by it when you were at Newman? How about now?
Well, once I started reading it, and I started to see the images coming together. And then blocking was really important to me because I knew that the actors had so many things to do. I wanted to kind of handle the blocking as much as I could early on. So we blocked the whole show in a week, but then we spent the next week remembering what we did in the first week. And you'll see that not only is it the different characters, the different accents that each character has, the costume changes, they move all of the transitions. So they're just remembering so many things, and it's like a dance. It's, the way that they move. So I just wanted to take responsibility for what I could and take that off of their plate, and then really bring a lot of the theatrical elements that Barlow writes about. So we've got shadow play, we've got puppetry, we've got, we're using footlights, we're going into the audience. There's so many fun things that we're pulling in.
It sounds like a Christmas Carol, unlike any other Christmas Carol I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Michael, you'd suggested that as well. You've been involved, though, with, aside from doing Ebenezer, as the lead role in this particular case, but you've been involved doing some sound things too, haven't you, in the past? Haven't you contributed in a way?
Not sound. That is out of my pay grade. But I have. I designed this show, scenic design, and put it together. And there's Liz and I have. it's remarkable to be able to create in the way that we do, because we live together, and so we get to talk about these pieces that we get to work on together, and really it's, I think, Crescent City Stage at its core is a creative team effort, and so while I get to be the scenic designer, but we have James Lanius is doing projections. Amara Skinner is our sound designer.
Okay, so Amara, and I'm familiar with some of her work. Tell me, because obviously sound is a very important part of this, scenic design too, but the sound, the ghosts, the rattling of the chains, all of those things, I mean, they really add to the atmosphere of what the audience is going to see and perceive. So
I think what Barlow has done is he's written an adaptation that allows the audience to create a lot of this in their own mind. And our job in telling the story, and certainly the way that's been adapted, is to simplify, right? You can have, if you had all the money in the world, and some theaters do, right? They literally fly Marley in from the rafters or from the back. And that's all amazing and wonderful. This is a really stripped down version that gets to, we have to have chains because Marley is wrapped in chains. But how do you do that in a way that honors the moment, but is also true to 4 other actors quite literally running around mad for 2 hours, going from Marley to young Scrooge to Freddie to Fezziwig to Belle. And so Amara, who's brilliant, really has created what I think, and Liz, you can speak to this more of like a cinematic underscoring that then heightens and mellows out and then heightens and then punctuates. And then it's almost as though it's a 6th character, if you will, because it is so important that to your question, Alan, that you have to have that support without somebody just literally banging chains. And I think that's true of all of the ghosts. It's true of the spirits flying. It's true of the scenes where we're outside and there's the crowd noises. Amara's remarkable at creating a soundscape, I think, really unique and certainly in line with what this piece calls for, which is really a soup to nuts underscoring.
Okay, Ryan, let me ask you a question. Piggybacking a little bit on that, is there one particular part of the play and all the different characters that you're doing that you have what I would say is your most fun moment that you really get to have? Maybe if it's center stage or something like that, but a moment that is all yours and all yours alone.
Probably Mr. Fezziwig is my favorite. He's just larger than life, and there's a special entrance for him that I don't want to give away. But it's just full cheer and raucous, and I really enjoy playing him. I love his heart and his spirit, and I have a blast with him.
I'm trying to put some of the pictures in there now that we have that were sent over. And I know I had one I thought I had one of you, maybe. Yeah. What do you think? Is that it?
That's him.
And again, there's another character here, and you all will have to tell me who this is.
All right, that is the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, which is actually more of a shadow play moment.
So who did the costumes on this as well? I should ask that.
Jais LeBoeuf. And so she also did it for Cry It Out.
So okay, that's kind of interesting. Let me throw up the big poster there. A new adaptation by Patrick Barlow. Again, you've got a very nicely designed. I don't know who did your graphics, but I guess that's sort of a little bit of everything in there. You've got Tiny Tim's crutch. You've got the cemetery remark. You've got the coins, etc., which obviously is a reference to Marley and perhaps his partner from before. The broken heart, which of course we learn about. It's a pretty nice graphic, and just by looking at it, you probably can tell that it has something to do with a Christmas Carol, even if you didn't have the title on top of it.
Reva Joy Billups.
Very nice. Very nice.
She's done. She did Vanya, Cry It Out.
Okay. All right. Now tell me, this is a bunch of different pictures. I'm going to show the individuals. I think not all of them do I have. The black and whites, I don't have all of them, etc. But this is your 5 actors that you're showing off a little bit. This is a scene. Not quite sure what that is. Is that just blocking?
They were just running lines during tech.
Yeah, it didn't look like it was a scene from there. I do have one. That's you, of course, and then of course Michael, and this is of course
Cessna.
Yeah, and then we have Ryan again and LeBaron, and then now the back was to the audience. Do you know what this is all about?
This is in the counting house. So this is Scrooge facing Bob Cratchit.
This is, so I guess it's early. And then the last picture we've got is I guess of Ebenezer and the ghosts, or perhaps
these 3 actors. They are playing ghosts at this point, and Eleanor Humphreys is on the left.
Very nice. Okay, so I think I pretty much covered all the pictures that you sent in. I tried to get them all in. Again, for those of you who are interested, again, we want to remind you that this is the last of the season, and Michael, have you yet to come out with an announcement for season 24-25, or are we going to keep us? You're going to keep us on pins and needles.
We have we have teed up a remarkable 2024 season, and hopefully we'll be able to announce that in January.
Okay. Well, if you want to, a standing invitation, as long as I don't have anybody else on a Monday night, you're welcome to come and make the announcement official on Monday that you make that announcement. Hopefully, it doesn't conflict with any of my Mardi Gras duties, but Mondays are usually pretty open. Lundi Gras, which is, of course, the night before Mardi Gras, would definitely not be the day to do that. So please do
Mardi Gras is early next year.
It's on, I think, the 13th. So that's not that early. No. The next year, I believe it's earlier, in 25. Yeah.
Earlier than the 13th?
Yes.
Wow.
I believe so. I think that's the case. I have to go back and consult, but I think that's the case. It happens that way sometimes. Now, interestingly enough, in 2028, hopefully I'm still here, Mardi Gras is on Leap Day. Leap Day, February the 29th. I can't believe that.
That's going to be a crazy Mardi Gras.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm sure everybody's going to be using, the leap of faith and the leap of that and whatever else. The leap in lizards. You're going to get tired of leaps.
I would like a quantum leap. I think that.
I'm sure. Absolutely sure. Well, we're getting towards the end, and again, I want to sort of let everybody know once again that A Christmas Carol is playing in Marquette Theater. Again, have you secured Marquette Theater for the following year already, or are you still negotiating that?
In principle.
In principle, okay. Well, we'll leave it at that. And again, it's a really brilliant partnership that you have, that you're enjoying, and of course, another theater company is utilizing the other space in the lower depths. So again, it's a wonderful thing when you have a wonderful partnership between a university and outside production companies. I think it just speaks to the fact that, first of all, they believe in the power of theater. They believe the importance of what you all are doing, and also the fact that they're making it affordable for smaller companies to be able to come on and do that. Now, as far as the scheduling goes, you've not had any problems as far as that goes. You've all been able to work things out so that when you're doing your rehearsals and everything ahead of time, it doesn't really interfere, right?
No, and COVID really was a blessing in that regard, because we were able to schedule our, as you know, Alan, there's just so few spaces for us to do the kind of sort of more traditional theater like we do. And so we tend to program our season kind of outside of their school functions, right?
I got you.
December, school is out, I think, in 3 days.
Yeah,
so
that's about right.
We're on campus, and then we produce in June when school is out. We produce in September when school is just starting. So it's we're very thankful and grateful that we have the opportunity to be there. They have Marquette is funky and weird, but it's a cool space. And then the studio spaces that they have over in Monroe Hall they're top notch. I mean, they're state of the art rehearsal studios.
Yeah. So,
And
so,
we're
so
able to.
you're able to actually use that space as well.
Mhm.
This was our first time because before we've been able to be on deck from day one. So we had to use the studio this time because Anne Mahoney's world premiere, which, forgive me for not knowing the name, was on stage when we started. So we had to be in the studio. But again, you know, it's state of the art. Like if you're going to have to rehearse somewhere, in the rehearsal studio is not a terrible place to do it.
Yes. Well, congratulations again for those of you looking to go to see A Christmas Carol. Once again, it's going to be at Marquette Theater, December the 7th through the 21st. And you know, we've got a couple minutes to wrap things up with our guest for tonight. Again, from Crescent City Stage. Crescent City Stage, a 501c3. So those of you who want to make your year-end donations, I'm sure that the executive director would love to hear from you, and his wife would appreciate it as well. Liz, congratulations. Before I even get to see this, the fact that you've got everything in place, that's you know, a feather in your cap. And again, I hope that Ryan, that you enjoy the times. How many performances are we going to have between the 7th and the 21st?
12.
12.
Mm-hmm.
So we have 12 nights of Christmas and 12 performances of A Christmas Carol.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. All right.
As though it was purposeful.
In any event, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. And again, we appreciate you know, what you're doing. Again, Crescent City Stage is different from a good many of the other theater companies insofar as you emphasize working with Actors Equity actors, people who are not necessarily more professional, but who are from a union that supports professional actors. And again, before we leave, I think I would be remiss to ask you as a person connected with the union for a long time, how you feel about the settlement of the strike that didn't really affect Actors Equity, but it affected the writers and of course SAG-AFTRA, correct?
I mean, you know, the SAG. Are you asking me? My
opinion? Yes.
You know how I get about these things, Alan. You know, I think I think that it's always shocking to me that people don't know that the contracts are going to expire, and then they wait till the last minute, and then a lot of chest puffing and nonsense. I think that I had a conversation with a guy who helped us find some electrical stuff we needed for the show. He works for a local lighting company, and he said they're not union, and he said, is it going to pass? And I said, I don't know. We'll find out. And he said, I don't think people realize that people like me, who have nothing to do with the union, have been out of work for 9 months.
Right.
We've laid off everybody. And so what I would say to your question is less about me as an actor, and it's more about the tens of thousands of people who have been out of work for 6 months because of corporate greed.
Right.
And that to me is the most
Which
frustrating
ties in with the Christmas Carol.
Yeah. Right.
Well, at least it's off the table now. Everything's been done. I believe it's been voted. I think.
We'll find out, but we'll find out in I think tomorrow the voting ends, so we'll find out Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
All three of us are SAG members as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, then it does directly affect you as well. But again, you know, I know at one point there was a discussion. They said the difference between what the union wanted and what the producers were asking for from SAG-AFTRA was like 60 cents, and they said it would be like $800 million. I kept saying I don't know how that works out, but apparently 60 cents goes a long way in Hollywood.
It's absurd when you really drill down on it.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming tonight. I'm going to have to let you all go. Again, everybody go check out Crescent City Stage's A Christmas Carol. Thank you for being with me tonight. I'm going to have to say goodbye to Ryan, to Elizabeth, and of course to Michael. Ryan, you have a good night as well. Okay.
Thank you.
And again, I appreciate them being with me. We're going to go back to our upper, if you notice in the upper right-hand corner of your screen there, we're going to go move over to our next guest, Louisiana Philharmonic. You see, it's already there. We are going to now welcome our maestro and the executive director of the Louisiana Philharmonic Orchestra. Again, the I'm hoping I have the right name. Is it Adelaide Winston conductor? Or you have to tell me, Matthew Kraemer. What's the full name of that? What is it exactly?
Adelaide Benjamin. Adelaide Benjamin is the sponsor. Yeah, for my chair.
Okay. And I believe she was a Wisdom first, and then she became a Benjamin.
That's right, Adelaide Wisdom Benjamin. You're correct.
Yes. Okay. So anyway, again, we want to welcome you. First off, I know you probably have not been on this show before, but you've probably been on certain other ones as well. Anwar, who I'm going to bring in a second, has been on the show before to promote last year's season before you arrived. And so this is sort of old hat for him. But I wanted to talk to you first because you are, taking over some pretty big shoes that you're stepping into, and I know that everybody in New Orleans has welcomed you with open arms, et cetera. But I wanted to get a little bit of a background. From whence did you hail, and what got you into the classical realm? As I guess a youth, you must have. In my particular case, I sold classical music and opera at my mother and uncle's record store, and I worked there since I was a little kid, so I knew all about opera, all about classical music, and it was a matter of my having to know it. But I don't think you had a record store in your so how did you get involved with it, and what led you to it?
I tell this story often because it is a peculiar set of circumstances that brought me to where I am now. I don't come from a musical family. I grew up in Richmond, Indiana, which I think is still the largest supplier of RVs in the Midwest. At least it was at the time. It wasn't a very big town at all, but we have a history of music there. It was one of the first high school orchestras in the country was in Richmond, Indiana, the birthplace of recorded jazz. All the greats in the 30s and 40s went up there to record. My older brother signed me up for violin lessons one day. He said it was about time that somebody in the Kraemer family learned how to play a musical instrument, and he didn't want to be the one to do it. So he signed me up with this phenomenal teacher, Carolyn Klimper Green, who was a not so distant relative of the great Otto Klimper conductor.
Otto Klimper?
That's right.
Okay. Yeah.
How she ever ended up in Richmond, Indiana, I had no idea, but she had a Stradivarius. Her sister plays in the London Symphony. Took violin lessons, didn't appreciate it at first. I was probably kicking and screaming. Somewhere in high school, I fell in love with it and went off to pursue that. Thought I was going to be a violinist, honestly, for my career. Both of my college degrees are in violin performance. Somewhere along the way, I caught the conducting bug, as it's called, and bribing friends with pizza and beer, I put together little ad hoc orchestras, and one opportunity led to another. It turned out that my first audition was a conducting audition out of school, and that's the job I won. Started on a career in conducting about 25 years ago.
And again, as a violinist, did you do any of the solo work, with orchestras as well when you were first starting out?
When I was first starting out in college, I played quite a few concertos with college orchestras. I won some concerto competitions in high school and college as well. Played some really good. That was back when I was really in my prime. Probably the peak, the summit for my violin playing was playing the Elgar violin concerto with my master's orchestra out in Nevada, and that was really when I was really in great shape. It's all fallen off since then. I still play. I've still got four strings on my violin, but my technique is nothing like what it used to be back then. But no, I studied all the excerpts. I was preparing myself for orchestral auditions. That's what I thought was going to happen.
Well, I'm going to bring in Anwar now. Anwar, the executive director of the Louisiana Philharmonic Orchestra. Again, I appreciate. I know when you get into the position you're holding, it was probably known pretty much around the same time that your artistic director might be moving, that he'd been around a bit and was maybe getting a little restless. You never know. And so my question is did you have your sights on Matthew at that time, or how did you become knowledgeable of him being available and perhaps being a good fit for you?
Well, one, thank you for having me as well. And Matthew,
no, it's my pleasure.
No, Matthew was already on the schedule. I got here in July of 2021, and he was already slated to conduct. I believe you were actually scheduled to be here during pandemic time, and it got rescheduled because we weren't doing any concerts in person. So he was one of our first guest conductors that we actually might have been the first guest conductor that we had that season. And he really just kind of, I would say, blew everyone away. So we knew that we wanted to get him back as soon as possible. And Then we got him back in the fall of 2022, and again blew everyone away again. So a few months later, we all decided that we were each other's people, and we were fortunate enough to have him now.
And the Louisiana Philharmonic Orchestra, for people who are just tuning in for the first time, do not know, it was the literal phoenix that grew out of the ashes of the old New Orleans Symphony Orchestra. The New Orleans Symphony Orchestra used to, be a pretty well known entity in the city, of course, and because New Orleans has always been the first city of opera, it always seemed like to me. And again, I have nothing to base this on, but it always seemed like to me that upper echelons would not, like they did in other cities, meet at the symphony orchestra, but they all would go to the opera for sure. And the Philharmonic almost was, I don't want to say a redheaded stepchild, but the Philharmonic, at that time, the symphony orchestra, did not get as much attendance as it probably deserved. And it was a world-class orchestra. Again, the musicianship has always been very, very high. And we've had some wonderful conductors, later on music directors, et cetera. And again, I think that we've had very high standards that we've kept. But what happened was when the symphony orchestra literally lacked funding to go forward, the orchestra members actually got together and said, we can do this ourselves and self-fund a Philharmonic orchestra. And from that, the basis of what we have today, the LPO, came about. And I can tell you that at that record store that I mentioned, Matthew, we sold tickets for the first season at Smith's Records. We were very proud to help get the word out and to sell tickets to try to make the sales happen. I don't know that we generated thousands, but we did do our little part, that whatever it was. And again, we got the word out. And we were happy to do that. So again, that's the history of the orchestra. But the only other group that I know of that did this was in Denver, and I'm not quite sure that they're still available. Are they still working in Denver as a self-funded orchestra?
Not in the same way, no.
Yeah.
There are a few other options that are similar to ours, but none on this scale, I would say.
Yeah. So again, it's incredible that a city of the size of New Orleans has the kind of Philharmonic orchestras they've got, number one, but number two, that they fund themselves and that they do so many other projects. That's the one thing. Anwar, when you stepped into the job, did you ever believe that you would be doing as many different things as they've got you doing now?
No, but it's actually a joy, I would say, of mine, because New Orleans is just such a unique city, and to be able to tap into this region and everything that makes it special is, I would say, one of the best things that the orchestra can do. We're really in a space where we can play all kinds of music and work with all different kinds of acts. There's, they say New Orleans is not like a melting pot like other places, but it's like a good bowl of gumbo, right?
Yeah.
All the pieces that you put into it make something special, but each of them don't lose their own flavor when you put it in.
Yeah.
So for us to go from playing with Big Frida to playing Beethoven to playing the music of John Williams and the Beatles, it really becomes a really wonderful thing that, people in the city love all different types of music. Yeah. And I think for this orchestra and this community, we should be really proud that we have each other.
And you had Tank of the Bangers.
Yes.
Was it? I'm trying to remember the Cajun group that you had.
Lost Bayou Ramblers. Yep.
Oh yeah, Lost Bayou Ramblers.
We got nominated for a Grammy for that album.
I mean, amazing. And they were not too long ago at Carnegie Hall doing their thing with a few years back. So again, congratulations for everybody in the orchestra. I think that I'm very proud that I know so many of the members and have known them through the years, and I know that they all do very good work. And again, I'm delighted to see the beginning of the Matthew Kraemer era. I hope we can call it a long era.
Sure.
Matthew, what's it been? First off, before we go in the rest of the season, which we're going to get to in a second, but what's it been like to move to New Orleans? I'm assuming, and you don't live here full time, or do you?
My family and I have relocated. We moved from Indianapolis, the best time of year, from what I understand, late June, 105 degrees. We got down here with a few broken dishes and no complaints whatsoever. Everybody has been so warm and welcoming. We felt embraced by the city. Our kids love their new school. We love all of the adventures that we've taken to explore our new home. It's really been wonderful.
That's fantastic. Well, I'm delighted to hear that, because I know it's difficult to make that jump you know, and especially the first year, I thought that maybe you might have decided to do this in the transition between, you know, May at the end of your season and the beginning of the next season. But that's fantastic. And so what have you liked the most about New Orleans, aside from that heat that you love so much? But
I mean, I don't know why I'm eating oysters with every meal now. I didn't eat oysters before. I mean, it's the food. I've got to start off with that. But of course, I mean, in that top mix, the music, the history, the culture, you know, really, my wife and I, we've moved around the country, 5 different residences. I've lived in 7 different cities in my life. And this is by far the most unique, the most interesting, the most captivating, the most mysterious, really. So it's got everything for us as a family to continue to explore. And I'm just excited about what the future brings for us. We're still getting acclimated, and I'm still getting to know the orchestra on top of that, only here now 3 months into our new season. So it's really been a wild roller coaster, and I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Right. So before we start talking about the rest of the season, there are 2 shows that are coming up. So and I say 2. There's really, I think, more than that. But you've got some Christmas shows, is what I'm getting to, and I think some of the Christmas shows are going to be on the North Shore too. But they may be sold out now. Is that correct? So you've probably got a handle on this better than I do. So
Yeah.
I know they're doing the Handel's Messiah at the Orpheum.
Yes,
and that's still got tickets available.
we do have a handful of seats left for the Handel's Messiah. We're doing on the second half of the program. There are some excerpts that we're doing. You know, all the greatest parts of it, I would say. And it's really going to be a beautiful program. So yeah, we're doing it on the 7th on the North Shore, but the 8th on which the North Shore is sold out. But on the 8th, we're right here at the Orpheum, and it's going to be a really fantastic night.
Okay, and again, those of you who don't know, it's what 169, is that right? Or 129? 129. Roosevelt Place. What used to be called University Place is now called Roosevelt Place. So, but at 129, and again, I remind everybody that if they are looking to get tickets, where they go to LPOmusic.com.
Yep.
And again, that's a great way to get tickets. But so you got the Messiah, you've got a Christmas concert, and then you're going to take a little time off for the holiday, and then you're going to come. Before that, you've got another group that comes in.
We got a couple of good things coming up, which I'm excited about. Again, going back to this whole a little bit of something for everybody. So next week, we're actually restarting our Music at the Museum series, and it's not a holiday concert, but it's featuring a local New Orleanian. Her name is Dawn Richard, who was a fantastic vocalist. She partnered with Spencer Zahn, who you can see here, to kind of create this electro pop classical album. And it's a really, really fantastic experience that we're going to be doing it at NOMA, and it's all about the movement of colors and music coming together. So it's going to be a really, really wonderful night. There's only a handful of seats in the space, so it's a really intimate experience, and I'm excited about it because this is going to be her debut with the LPO, so her hometown orchestra. So really a wonderful experience. And
that's on the 14th, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's on the 14th at NOMA in the Lapis Center. Yeah.
Okay, all right, and then you've got what else before the end of the?
So we know that this is a drinking town. Everyone loves to have either a good cocktail or even a good mocktail. So we're throwing our last happy hour of the season. It's going to be at Tipitina's, the legendary venue. It's a program that we have that's been curated by our musicians. So again, kind of coming back to this whole thing of the musicians really have a big input on what it is that we do. So we're going to have some string and some brass players that are going to play with us. But one of the other things that I'm excited about, and we really have a wonderful music education program. So some students from the Homer Plessy Community School, their honors quartet, are going to play with the orchestra as well. So it's going to be a fun time to come together and celebrate. And one of the other things that I think is going to be great about it is Sweet Crew. Some of the members of the band are going to come and play with us as well. So it's going to be a real fun time. It's on December 20th, 6 o'clock at Tipitina's. So you can come right from work. It's going to be in a relaxed atmosphere. Or if you're already off, feel free to come on down and check us out because it's a fun time.
And speaking of drinking, I saw that Matthew's already got the maestro has his glass there. Yeah. That's the now what is that? It looks a Chardonnay maybe.
Chardonnay.
Yep, I was right on that. See, I can tell I'm a good wine. And Anwar, what did you bring in the room tonight?
I brought in some coquito, actually. So, it's a holiday drink from Puerto Rico, which is really, really fun. So it's kind of a Puerto Rican take on an eggnog. So it has like coconut rum in it. It's a really fun one.
That's the first coquito I've had in the room here tonight in the studio. So appreciate you bringing that in. Okay, so we're going to get into the rest of it. But again, anybody who wants to get tickets, there's still tickets available for a couple of those events, definitely for the Christmas, and definitely check out the event at the New Orleans Museum of Art that you mentioned that we're going to have with Spencer and Dawn. So what about the rest of the season coming up with the new year? You all have, I know at the very end of January, you've got some very interesting cultural programs, one of which is going to be with Big Chief, I believe it's Juan Pardo, correct?
Yes.
It's interesting.
Matthew, you want to tell them about the program? I think you're leading this one, correct?
That's right. At the Orpheum, I'm thrilled about this because much of the season was already in place when I was hired. So my appearances, on the Orpheum Classical Series are limited this season, and this is my second program, and an entirely unique one because there's not any music on this program that is probably familiar to our audiences. We begin with a work by Arlene Sierra, which is a commission. It was premiered by the Detroit Symphony. It's part of the Virginia Toolman Commission, which is supporting women composers. And then we have three movements of Wynton Marsalis's Blues Symphony, but the cultural the work that you're referring to, and really the centerpiece of the program, is by a local composer, Maxime Samaroff, entitled "Birth of a Culture," and it's about the Mardi Gras Indians with Big Chief Juan Pardo. We've got a dance choreography to go along with that. I think this is a fascinating bit of New Orleans history and culture here, which I was completely unfamiliar with before I got to know this piece and composer Maxime Samaroff. And I think it's really going to be a cultural immersion for all of us, the musicians and the audience, on this program. It's a really terrific piece. We did a reading of it about 6 months ago, and it's marvelous. It's really going to be a great night to celebrate New Orleans history.
Does it have any kind of narration, or is it only done in music?
It is. There's a narrative that continues through it as well. So all of this, there's a musical storytelling, and then there is a programmatic element that is the thread that aligns everything.
I got you. Very good. Well, that sounds like, and there's another one that I think you're doing for the schools, similar to this too, around the same time. Anwar.
Yeah. So that weekend on the 27th, we're actually going to do it for families at Eleanor McMain High School. So it'll be a 1-hour version of the concert. So we wanted to make sure that we were doing it in a place that was going to be accessible, so that way young people can come and learn a little bit more about this wonderful tradition that we have here. So we wanted to make sure that there's a full evening concert work, and then there'll be a family concert on that Saturday as well.
It's my alma mater, not for high school, but for junior high school, and my mother's high school. So that makes it very special to me. Now, coming up later on, I think the next month in February, you've got the Classical Mystery Tour. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So this is going to be a celebration of the music of the Beatles. So it's a really, really wonderful and fun time. So all of those, I would say, well over 24 Beatles tunes played along with the orchestra, exactly as they might have been remembered by those who've known and loved the Beatles, and it's going to be a really, really fun time down there.
Now, will that be at the Mahalia Jackson, or will that?
It'll be at the Orpheum Theater. So we're creating a more intimate experience, so people can come and sing along, and it's going to be a fun time.
And Alan, I have to mention that I've worked with Classical Mystery Tour for 15 years, done at least a dozen performances with them. It's the real deal. If you don't like the tribute bands, this is not that same formula. These guys are phenomenal. The charts are great. The orchestra backs them up. I mean, it really is a walk through time from the early ages of the Beatles all the way to the end. I mean, it really is a brilliant show.
Oh, fantastic! Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it. If it's after Mardi Gras, the question is whether or not I can make it. I might be able to make it. That's one of those shows that I'm going to try to make myself. Now, I believe we've got another guest conductor coming in sometime after Mardi Gras as well, sometime around the 22nd. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. So we have a a wonderful conductor. Her name is Jerry Lynn Johnson. She's the music and artistic director of the Black Pearl Chamber Orchestra based out of Philadelphia. She was with us not too long ago, leading the orchestra for New Orleans Opera's Josephine. And she's coming back to do a wonderful week of music that's going to feature some new works by Carlos Simon, Margaret Bonds, who we've played a bit of her music recently, and Jean Sibelius. So it's going to be Sibelius' Symphony No. 5. So it's going to be a really, really, I would say, great program that she's going to lead with us. And
then some Tchaikovsky. Right after that, you've got another conductor, Kalina Bovell. Mm-hmm. Which Tchaikovsky is this going to be?
This is his Symphony No. 4. So I would say that it's a barn burner of a symphony here.
The 4th, the 5th, and the 6th are all my favorite. I
think Matthew, you conducted a Tchaikovsky symphony when you came back as well. So I think we like to put them on with good conductors. So
we do very well with the orchestra with Tchaikovsky, but it seems like it's Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, and surprisingly, the Shostakovich seems to be done very well here. And we also do very good with Mahler. Yeah. So, I can only tell you that I'm looking forward to seeing Matthew with the baton in front of the orchestra doing any of those. Now, they are going to take a little bit of a break because this is a 2-night affair. On the 9th and the 10th, you're going to have Black Panther, right? And this is going to be with the LPO in concert, and this will be where?
So this is going to be at the Mahalia Jackson. So we wanted to make sure that we were putting this big Marvel movie with one of the big orchestras on stage. And if you haven't been to one of the movies before, where it's the movie playing right above the orchestra while they're playing the score live, and it's truly, I would say, one of the most magnificent scores that I've heard in recent memory. That's not a John Williams score,
right? Well, you did Harry Potter too. Mm-hmm. They just did Jurassic Park, right?
Yes.
So I mean, and all those were successes.
Yes, absolutely. So it's really a fun time. So this is going to be a little bit different for us because it's a modern movie. It's a superhero movie, but it has some really interesting elements to it. There's some great percussion parts, and I mean it's a lot of big string parts as well. So it's sweeping music, but you can feel the adrenaline rush with it. Yeah. So anyone that's a fan of comic books or a fan of action movies, this is going to be the one for you.
I apologize that this past Friday I had another commitment and I could not go to Lizette, but I know that you, Matthew, the LPO worked very, very well with the orchestra, and that was a great night. I don't know whether or not you have anything you wanted to comment about the way that night went.
It was gorgeous. I was in attendance. I don't rarely get to attend concerts as an audience member. Joseph Colinario was the guest conductor, and the orchestra sounded brilliant. Josette was exquisite. I mean, you mentioned this before, Alan. This is an opera town, historically going back generations, and it's just glorious to be able to hear beautiful, beautiful singing like that, backed up by a world-class orchestra. And she's New Orleans' own. We claim her as ours. She is a brilliant talent.
Yeah. So, and New Orleans has had quite a number of really talented opera performers. You mentioned Shirley Verrett, and I'm trying to remember the other lady used to come in the record shop all the time too, and I'm blanking on her name, but also she was a great mezzo, and I'll think of it before I end up. But that leads me to bring up the next iteration for the New Orleans Opera, and that their next production is going to be Lucia di Lammermoor, and I wanted to let everybody know that that's going to be on the 24th and the 26th of March, which happens to be around the same time as the Tennessee Williams New Orleans Literary Festival. So hopefully those of you who are interested in the opera will make plans to go on that Friday night or on that Sunday afternoon, so that you get your Tennessee Williams in and get your opera in as well, because it's really important that you attend the opera. It's really that's one of my favorite. Lucia, the Mad Scene, just a fantastic piece of work, and I look forward to seeing what they're going to do with that. Have you conducted many operas, Matthew?
I would say about maybe 24 operas I've conducted in my career, and it's been glorious. Last one was Fidelio this past May. Being in the opera pit is a very special experience. It's incredible music making, regardless of what the opera is.
And Fidelio is such a special opera. Beethoven's only opera. And again, when they come out of the prison, et cetera, that scene there, just people start to cry.
Glorious.
Let me go ahead and get the rest of the season if I can. Tell me a little bit about this guest conductor.
Yeah,
Anwar?
so that is Stephen Mulligan, and he's a fantastic up and coming conductor. I would say it's a program of American music. Well, not all American music, but featuring Jesse Montgomery, who's kind of been one of the most popular American composers, living American composers right now. And it's also going to have some Dvorak and Mendelssohn, and we're going to be doing Mendelssohn's Final Symphony on that program. So it's a wonderful way, I would say, to pick it back up again after doing some opera and a few other things.
Yes, it's going to be right after. Actually, it's like the very beginning of April the 4th, I think, and then again continuing in April. You've got a big April when you finish the season. You've got another guest conductor. This is Lydia Yankovskaya. Is that right?
You got it.
All right. Tell me about her.
So, she's just, I would say, blooming into an international star, but she's going to be doing, I would say, one of the biggest programs on the season. It's also Spock Zarathustra. Ooh, this is always a tongue twister for me. But it's
Richard Strauss.
Yes, exactly. So anyone who's ever, it's one of those pieces of music that you've heard over and over again, but may not know it by name. Right. Most people know it as the music from 2001: Space Odyssey, or
Elvis's entrance music. Yes,
yes. definitely that too. But it's also going to be featuring a Verdi overture, so a little bit more opera. And I think there's also a piece by Full Metal as well, by Fumai, that I think is inspired by anime. So it's a really big orchestra. I know that the musicians are incredibly excited to hear the piece. I mean, to play the piece, because more often than not, we play things that we can fit on the Orpheum stage. So we're going to jam them in there. It's going to be a really fun time.
Well, I can only tell you, if you do any anime, you do any of the Pikachu and all that other stuff, you find a piece. I actually am very friendly with the man who is the voice of Professor Oak from Pikachu. I don't know if that rings a bell with you at all, but he's now on Broadway. He's the understudy for the big role of the rabbi in Harmony, and he's happy to do any narrations for you. I'm sure. And then we're gonna wrap things up, because the last part of the season always is the big spectacular Swing in the Oaks. Now I know they do others. Generally on the North Shore, they have one sometimes, and they have sometimes in Lafreniere Park. But this is the big one. This is on the Great Hall. The Great Mall, I should say. My goodness, to see that sea of people there and the orchestra out there, that's just fantastic. And of course, that's the iconic structure in City Park where we have all of those concerts done. Have you done any outdoor concerts like that, Matthew?
Oh, many times. This one will be particularly special for me because I was in attendance this past spring. Carlos was one of his final performances, and so I came on and we did kind of the ceremonial exchanging of the batons kind of
Very
thing.
nice.
So it was wonderful to be able to see Carlos and to talk to him and get to know him better and his connection with the city over the past 17 years that he was here. But this will be my first performance now at our largest attended performance of the season. So I look forward to working with the orchestra, and we're just hoping, as we always do, for good weather. That types of what you expect, with outdoor concerts, but they are really a lot of fun.
Have you got any idea, Anwar, about what the attendance is there? I mean, I know it's huge, but have you any idea about what the numbers are?
Sure. Yeah, we pack in about 5,000 people on the Great Lawn there, which is really magical. I mean, I've only been here a handful of years, and each year it's been getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's going to be really exciting. And this year it's on April 24th. Normally it's on Tuesday, but this year it's going to be on the Wednesday before Jazz Fest. So if people are coming into town early, they'll be able to come in and check us out. Well,
that's fantastic. Well, again, if you need to get tickets, that's where you go, lpomusic.com. And again, their numbers are available as well, but that's where most of the people are getting their information. And what I really like is more and more people are starting to use the QR codes, Save the Trees, etc. So I know you're printing programs, but eventually I'm hoping that you'll print much less bigger programs and have those QR codes that people can look up the concert And the only problem, of course, is when they look them up on their phones, they sometimes forget to turn them off during the concert.
Well, we do have an app. We have an app, the LPO Music app that you can download on the iTunes Store or the Google Play Store.
I will have to do that.
All of the same program notes, and it naturally will dim your phone as well during the concert.
Really?
So it's a really, really fun tool, and it's available now. So, and it's completely free.
I'm going to have to do that. That I had no idea. Listen, I really want to thank you for being with me. You know, again, I wanted to make available as much time as I can for the LPO, for the opera. Matthew, welcome to New Orleans. And since you've moved here now, you're almost a citizen. So take a couple more decades, and then they'll really accept you as one of their own. Anwar, thank you very much for being here. Anwar Nasir, Matthew Kraemer, the maestro, and again, the LPO's season continues through Christmas and beyond. We want everybody to go and support the LPO, support the opera as well. Thank you all for being here. And if you all stick around just a little bit, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. Again, we want to thank everybody for being here tonight. It's time for me to leave. Again, this is Alan Smason with Talk, and we can get the broadcast out on the NOLA Folk Facebook group, criticism.com's Facebook page, as well as my own YouTube channel. I want to thank all of our guests from the Crescent City Stage earlier, and of course our guests with the LPO just recently. And again, thank you all for being here tonight. And as always, I will see you in this particular case in the concert hall and at the theater.